Many of my viewers recently have come to my channel and said, Florida Maki, you don't understand what the president's doing. He wants this to go to the Supreme Court, and because now they're all conservatives, they're going to, of course, rule in his favor and going to force Pennsylvania to either throw out their results or overturn that election because it was full of fraud. It's not quite that simple. And if that did happen, that would set a dangerous precedent. But overturning any issue in Pennsylvania doesn't change the outcome of the national election. Right now it's 306 to 232 in the Electoral College, and that would just make it 286 to 252. It wouldn't change anything. But there's another argument here that I think a lot of my conservative viewers will understand when I show it, that makes this all kind of irrelevant. People have also brought up this issue with the voting machines, and that the voting machines were vulnerable to be tampered with, and they have all of these hard drives or servers from Germany and all this kind of stuff. So you're saying that because a machine of some type can be abused, that's evidence that it was abused, and that because it's so easily abused, we should get rid of it. You see, the problem is that machine, those Smartmatic machines, are all over this country. You would have to overturn pretty much the entire election in all states. But let me ask you a question. If guns kill people, pencils misspell words, cars drive drunk, spoons make people fat, and voting machines create fraud. You see, you can't charge a voting machine with fraud. You can't charge the machine with a crime. Of course you can't, right? It's people that commit crimes. People misspell words. People drive drunk. People eat too much and get fat. And people commit fraud. So to prove fraud in Pennsylvania or anywhere else, you're going to need a signed confession. You're going to need videotape evidence showing somebody do it. This simple idea that there is some kind of a backdoor way to manipulate votes in the machine is evidence of nothing. It could be introduced as part of a case. You could say, here's the evidence of the person doing it, and here's how they did it. But you still need the person doing it. Because what's being alleged is a crime, is it not? Is voter fraud a crime? Yes or no? Yes. Can inanimate objects commit crimes? No. Inanimate objects cannot commit crimes. People do. So you have to have evidence of somebody doing something. Not evidence that they have done it based on results. For example, a bank can't just take a picture of an empty vault and say, that's evidence we were robbed. Can they? No, it's just an empty vault. They can't put two pictures side by side and say, here's the vault full and here's the vault empty. Therefore, we can show that at one time we had money in the vault and now we don't, and so that's evidence a crime was committed. It's absolutely not evidence a crime was committed. In a court of law, you need some kind of physical evidence, videotape evidence, testimony evidence of a human being committing the crime. And I think this might be why Pam Bondi has stepped away, because Pam Bondi was a prosecutor, the woman on the lower left here, and she understands what the rules are. What actually happened and what can be proven are two different things. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this chart. It was actually tweeted out by a member of the legislature in Pennsylvania and retweeted by the president and many others with completely false and fictitious information. Now, here's how you do this. You see these results up here at the top? They look very official. And they might have been official at that time. At that time. But then here's what they do. Here's the dirty trick. You see this part down here where it says Pennsylvania reports having mailed out blah, 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 blah? You see, that is just a question. So when you take just a random question-like statement and put it very, very close in an image to what looks like official results, people have a tendency to believe the statement, regardless of whether there's proof for the statement or not. See, this is entirely incorrect based on preliminary numbers. They're saying that because they mailed out 1.823 million ballots and 1.462 were returned, that their total number 2.589 can't possibly be. Well, you see this 1.823 number? That's a number from a dated chart. That was the number that was mailed out as of October 19th, 2020-ish. It was a number from mid-October. You see, that's what they do. Looks very official. Nice, pretty pie chart. You see, more mail-in ballots were sent out after that. And here are the real numbers. Requested ballots were almost 3.1. Returned ballots 2.629. And let me say something before anybody starts typing. I do honestly believe there was fraud. But what I believe occurred and what Trump's legal team is trying to prove is two totally different things. It's two totally different things. The ballots were filled out and they were returned en masse by bored kids at home, mom and dad at work doing distance learning. Ballot shows up, they fill it out, they mail it back. Mom and dad never get the ballot, so they request another one, and they request another one, and they request another one. And this is the problem. When you have a bunch of people who are supposed to be catching that kind of thing, who have an interest in one side winning, they're going to fudge. They're going to fudge. And once again, I'll show you it again. Michigan only has 16. So I don't think, I mean, if you could flip Michigan and Pennsylvania, be 36. No, that would only bring Trump to 268. 20 and 16, 36, add 36 to, so even if you could somehow magically flip over Michigan and Pennsylvania, it still wouldn't be enough. Georgia's a done deal. Wisconsin, Trump just paid for a recount and it actually widened Biden's lead. And I'll just go back to this idea. Who committed the fraud? You see, this is one of the things that the Democrats, unfortunately, were just smarter at. They were more devious at. They knew what they could get away with. And they knew how to get away with it. And they knew because we have 50 state elections that it would be entirely up to them. That's why I put up the maps of places like Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, being much like North Korea, and to get out. And to get out of those states. Because you're right. When you have people who are in charge of the mechanism, when you have foxes in charge of the hen house, when you have rats in charge of the cheese, nothing's going to be done. In those states, nothing's going to be done. it's unfortunate. I think people think that I'm excited about the only thing that's good, the only silver lining to this is that it's going to cause a massive local uprising of conservatism, and we're already seeing it. You see, the Democrats don't have the infrastructure to manipulate local elections like they did this national one. They don't, and that infrastructure is going to go away. The more seats they lose on school boards and town councils and with mayors and sheriffs, that's all going to start to crumble away for them. And that's why that truly is the only answer. Now, I do believe Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are lost causes. They are totally lost causes. But there are places that are not. You see, under this same system, we got the job done down here. People of Georgia got some house cleaning to do. But 3 swing states, Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida, got the job done. Texas got the job done. You know, it's about on the ground. And, you know, maybe that was my fault. Beginning of the election, because I live in Florida, and I live in a conservative area of Florida, I would have to probably drive all the way to Orlando to find probably a Biden sign, or I would have had to. Nobody. There wasn't a single person, I couldn't even find him in St. Augustine. And that's a very liberal town. St. Johns County is not a liberal county where St. Augustine resides, but it was a shock, but it is what it is. And like I said again, I believe they cheated. I just don't believe it can be proven. And I think Pam Bondi, if you could sit down and talk with her, would probably explain this. They deal with it all the time in courts. They deal with it all the time in courts. Everybody knows the criminal did what the criminal did. But if the criminal does a good enough job of hiding the evidence to the point where they can introduce enough reasonable doubt, you gotta let them go. And especially in this case, because there is no standard across the country, that each state has its own standard. That's what defeats my original argument. Oh, by the way, Jerome Corsi did not think up this argument about equal protection. He watched my channel and got it from me. You can go back and watch my videos predate his. Equal protection, unfortunately, was a great argument if it was something where there was a standard applied across the country. But each state having its own specific standard, the ultimate authority for equal protection would have been Pennsylvania. Because of the way the Constitution reads, it's up to the legislature. And they've already seated their electors. And I know about the guy who's saying they're going to try to seat pro-Trump ones. Not going to work. It's not going to work. So, anyway, I just wanted to try to make some peace with my audience. I'm not excited about Joe Biden. I am excited for the fact that it's going to flip the legislature for conservatives. That's a good thing. The courts are already in our hands. That's a good thing. It's going to get conservatives motivated on the ground to change their local areas and start ground up governance. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the fact that Joe Biden is going to cause a great deal of division within the Democrat Party and a lot of arguing and a lot of infighting and a lot of problems. I'm excited about that. And that in 2 years, things are going to change dramatically. And then in 4, we could have conservatism govern the entire country. That's what I'm excited about. So, anyway, I guess I'll just leave it there. And I know everybody has their own opinion, but I just wanted to clear the air. Like, share, subscribe.